What is going on, everybody? My name is Dylan Spaulding. I am the founder and one of the hosts here on the Spaulding Media Network. So happy to have you along with us here on this Sunday evening. It's a busy Sunday evening, a lot of sports going on. It's an exciting time to be a sports fan, a lot of exciting things happening around the U.S. with sports. And we got two men who are very synonymous with sports. Obviously, the host of Fuji's Phil, Mr. Mike Fuji. And we're also joined by Al Norfleet, who will be joining us here on the show today. We're going to talk about his career as a Philly sports team driver. He's driven for many different sports teams in the Philly area, so excited to get to talk to him. And without further ado, we're going to bring on the man who, so to say, broke the Liberty Bell himself, Mr. Mike Fuji. Mike, take it away, my friend.
Dylan, thank you. It's been a couple weeks. Everybody, welcome tonight, Sunday night. Tonight we have Mr. Al Norfleet, host of Inside Sports from the driver's seat. Mr. Norfleet, welcome to Fuji's Phil. How are you this evening?
I'm doing well, and thank you for having me. It's my pleasure.
I know it's been a while. We've been back and forth about getting you on. I know your schedule's busy. As we jumped right in, congratulations on your retirement. And
Thank you.
Want to start early about your career. You're a photographer, you're a singer. Can you dive into early about your different careers that you are leading up to where you're at now?
Yes, like I was saying off camera a few minutes ago, I've been in the military for 20 years, and I started my singing in the military. And I used to do national anthem for a lot of the different sports events over in Europe. And I was also the sports announcer for our local basketball team over there. And they really had a program that rivaled any college program back in those days. And so when I used to call the games, and one day they was missing the national anthem singing, I said, well, I think I can do that too. And so that was my first time doing the national anthem. So through the years, I kept the singing up, doing a lot of military shows. And I am kind of person that 20 years, whatever I'm doing, I like to do something different. So I kept reinventing myself. I went from a singer to dealing with sports. And I just recently got into photography 10 years ago. And 2 years ago, I recently got into the podcasting thing.
So in some cases, you're basically like a Renaissance man.
Yeah, you can say that, but like I say, I get bored. Right. I won't say quickly, but every 20 years, I want to do something different.
Hey, nothing wrong going down a wrong avenue. I mean, Dylan's been in the podcasting business like yourself. I mean, I've been doing it for about 4 years, went from a co-host to trying out my own thing here as a host. And Dylan's been helping me out a great deal. Along the way, I mean, I know you've sang for the Phillies, as you were saying, most recently. I mean, and being in every aspect of all lines of work that you've been in, have you met a lot of famous people like singing or?
Well, not so much in singing. Most of the notable people have been in sports. I started with the Eagles in 2000. I started with the Phillies in 2001. And a few years later, it was both the 76ers and the Flyers. So most of the famous people have been through the sports realm. There were a few people I met over my years, like, for instance, the young lady that used to play in the TV show back in the day, Good Times. Her name was Thelma. When I was an Army recruiter, I had over at my recruiting station several times, to help bring people in.
Right.
Things of that nature. So I met a few along the way, but most of the most famous one has been through the sports arena.
Okay. Dylan?
Yeah, Al, kind of talking about your sports job. Obviously, you've been a team bus driver for the teams in Philly for 20. It said 21 years, and
Mhm.
congrats, obviously, on your recent retirement. But I want to ask, how did you get the job? What was kind of that first, what made you excited to want to go after and pursue this? And obviously, you've gotten to meet probably so many great people along the way. I mean, Philly has had so many great teams and players, and especially known personalities. So, what was kind of that first? But what was that kind of first? Thing about when you first got the job? What was kind of that
Well,
process like?
first of all, going back to 1999, I was the manager of my bus company, and things weren't going well, and so it was a mutual understanding that I leave the management ship and go back to driving. And once that decision was made, 2 weeks later, they said, "Well, listen, we just got the contract for the Philadelphia Eagles. Would you like to be their driver?" And I said, "Of course." And they didn't know. I first sang for the Eagles, I think it was 1987. And by me doing that, I held them close to my heart because they were the first team to give me an opportunity to sing the national anthem for a professional sporting event. And so I felt close to them. And so when they said, you can be the driver, I jumped right on that, man, and haven't looked back since.
What are some of your favorite kind of memories, looking back at all the teams that you've gotten to drive for, and there probably have been some great players that you've gotten to interact with throughout the years. I mean, you have that kind of favorite memory that you look back on as, man, this was a really fun time to be able to be kind of surrounded by that atmosphere or that environment.
Absolutely. As recently as 20 minutes ago, I was thinking about this. I said, I know they're going to ask me this. And I would say, starting back with the Eagles back in, like I said, I started in 2000. And that was, I believe, the year that Doug Peterson was the quarterback. And then Donovan McNabb took over for him, I think, during mid-season. Well, I got to know all those guys very good. Donovan, Jeremiah Trotter, Dawkins, Hollis Thomas, all those guys. I got to know them very good. So I thought that was very unique. And they didn't treat me like I was a bus driver. They treated me like I was a family, like I was part of them. And I think probably the very first thing that really got me, if you guys remember the Campbell Soup commercial with Donovan and his mom.
Yep.
Well, I was a part of one of those commercials. And
Really?
it started out with Mrs. McNabb. This is his real mother. When it first started out, it wasn't his real mother.
Correct.
But then later on it was. So this particular commercial was called The Road Trip. And it started out with Mrs. McNabb reading the book to about 4 or 5 players, Deuce, Donovan, Trey Thomas, in a hotel room. And then the scene switched to us in the bus, and we're driving. And we come upon this restaurant. Trey Thomas and Mrs. McNabb, there's a restaurant. So she taps me on the shoulder and said, "Keep driving, Al." And so that show probably, I think, for about a year and a half. And so that was very unique for me. And first of all, I thought, I'm just driving the bus, but I actually got paid for it. So that was a sweetness on top of the cake,
That's awesome.
As far as when you did the Chunky Suit commercial, were you actually in the commercial, and where did this take place?
No, okay, like I say, we started out in the hotel room. It used to be the Renaissance on the other side of the airport. I think it's a different name now.
All right.
And then we got in the bus and we went along 95 and took that first turn. I forget the area, and went up in there. And there was a restaurant that they had, I guess, rented for the commercial and changed the name and everything. And we drove by it. And so it was actually within a few miles of the stadium. So that turned out to be very good. And like I say, when they said, "I need a bus," and I'm thinking I'm just be over there, but I was actually in the commercial. And you can Google it. It's a Campbell Soup commercial. And you'll see me sitting there. I guess probably about 10 seconds. But it's me.
Nice. I remember when they started first airing those commercials.
Mm-hmm.
As you said, it was a different woman before
Yeah.
actual Mrs. McNabb, which was, I believe that was around what, 2000, 2001?
2003 or 4, right around there, when I did the one that I did, because I know they did about maybe 9, 10, 11 of them.
Okay.
Yeah.
Dylan?
I'm actually looking for the commercial. So Fuji, I'm gonna pass this back to you real quick. I'm actually looking for the commercial on YouTube real quick. I have to play it for you, Al. I think this will we'll go back down memory lane a little bit.
Okay, absolutely.
Al, as far as you driving 20 years, Eagles, Phillies, I mean, is there any stories you like to tell or anything that stands out most memorable to you?
Well, there are, but also at the same time, there's some that I can't tell.
Right.
Simply because these teams and players put their trust in me all of these years.
Right.
And as you know, with anything else, a lot of things goes on, and some things you just don't talk about. But one of I can say my most disappointing moment is we was coming back with the 76ers from playing the Nets. And we get back and unloading the bus and everything. The guys always play cards in the back of the bus.
Right.
And so I told them, I said, okay, guys, I'm done. And then one player says that, well, we're playing cards. We're not finished. You stay here till we finish. I said, well, sir, that's not part of my job. And so a big thing came out of that. And there was a player that very, very talented player. But then the personality part of that player was not very good. Right. And that's all I would say. And I'm sure you guys can probably figure out who that player is.
May have an idea there. I guess you dealt with the Lakes as far as Julius Erving, Charles.
We have the video. My bad. Yeah. I was trying to get the video queued up here. My bad. We'll go back to Fuji. Continue.
No, I'm sure you dealt with the likes of Charles Barkley, Julius Erving, Allen Iverson.
Well, those guys was before my turn. Yeah, but definitely Allen Iverson. But Charles Barkley and Julius, they were way before my time.
Okay. So it's everybody after Allen Iverson.
Yeah.
I'm sure there's some pretty interesting stories there as well.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed.
So, Al, I found the video, so we're going to play this real quick. Okay. I think we have to.
We play so well on the road is because we have a team out.
And then what happened? John Elway drove 98 yards.
She definitely cares about what we eat. Ooh, Miss McNabb.
Al, keep driving.
For away games, she loves Campbell's chunky soup and microwavable bowls.
Oh, man. That is awesome, Al. Yes, that is so incredible.
I enjoyed it. It was very unique, and every time I see it, it just brings joy to me.
As far as you go back to those early Eagles years, I don't know how to even ask this question, well, we all know what the relationship with Donovan McNabb / Terrell Owens.
Right.
I mean, was it as bad as the media made it out to be, or just, I don't know if you can answer that. Or...
Well, I put it like this. Anytime that you're dealing with the media, right, regardless of what you say, how you say it, they're going to twist it to how they want to present it. Mm-hmm. Now, as far as myself, watching the players, because like I said, I'm with them quite a bit. They get on and off the bus, and we're together in New York or Washington for a weekend. The thing I can tell you about these players, when they get on the field, they're spending a lot of physical and emotional energy out there. Mm-hmm. And when they come off that field, they leave everything out there. They get on the bus, they put their headphones on, they decompress. You don't hear a lot of chatter on the bus. Oh, you did this, or I did that, or we should have. You don't hear none of that on the bus. Maybe inside the locker room, which I'm not privileged to, but on the bus, you do not hear the animosity or the finger pointing. You don't hear any of that on the bus.
Al, I want to ask here. I want to divot a little bit. I want to kind of go back to that first time you sang the national anthem.
Hmm.
And first off, I meant to say to you, thank you for your service. I always
Yes, sir.
appreciate
My pleasure.
everybody
All right.
who served in the
Thank you.
military, and especially with such a very important day next week and Memorial Day. I think it's
Hmm.
awesome that we have somebody of you that you've been through. You've served in our military, so we really do appreciate your service and contribution to
Yes,
our
sir. My
country.
pleasure. My pleasure.
Kind of talking about that first time you got the chance to sing, and even previous times, even before. I mean, like, what does that mean to you? Especially being a former service member and somebody who served in the military, to be able to sing the national anthem in front of a great audience in the city of Philly as well. I mean, a city that's so rich in American history and culture. I mean, what does that mean to you to be able to get those opportunities to be able to sing in front of such a really a patriotic city that is Philadelphia? I mean, that's got to be pretty cool, and especially a city that's your home as well.
Yeah, absolutely. It means a great deal, and for many, many reasons. First and foremost, like you say, I spent 20 years in the military. So to be able to sing a song like that, which every professional sports, a lot of sports play it before every event.
Mm-hmm.
And for me to be able to do that on top of serving 20 years, it gives me a tremendous amount of pride. And for a professional sports team to give me that opportunity, that gives me pride, because I said, well, they believe that I can do this. Because people can sing every day in the in the house, in the shower. You get out there in front of 60, 65,000 people, it's not exactly a comfortable thing to do.
Yeah.
But if you love what you're doing, you have confidence in your talent, then you get out there and you say, this is a national anthem, and I was chose to sing it. So it gives me a tremendous amount of pride to get out there and to give it the best that I can possibly give.
I think that's very well said. I don't think you could have said it any better. I mean, and also too, I can imagine there's got to be, national anthems that you have done at events that, I probably complete, the atmosphere is different. You probably get some chills a little bit when you're singing. Is there a certain game or event that you sang a national anthem that was like, man, this is pretty surreal. This is pretty special. This is cool.
Well, I mean, really all of them.
Yeah.
And as recently as yesterday, I went down to Ocean City High School and I sang the national anthem down there.
That's awesome.
Now, that was special in the sense that when I was with the Phillies, they had a traveling secretary called Frank Koppenberger, and he had been with the Phillies for almost 30 years. And so I was his bus driver for 20 of those years. And we became very good friends. He retired about 3 years ago. Him and I, we said we was going to retire at the same time, but
Nice.
he left and I stayed around,
Right.
But anyway, we kept in contact, and about a month, maybe 2 months ago, he took his team down to Myrtle Beach, South Carolina. And so he asked me to drive his team down there, and I did that. And so that was part of our friendship. So this weekend, they've always invited me to a game. So when he said, Al, can you come down Saturday? I said, yes, absolutely. And he said, well, you think you can sing the national anthem for us? I said, absolutely. And so I did that yesterday morning, 11 o'clock. And the players remember me from taking them down to Myrtle Beach. And so they all gathered around me. They all sang happy birthday to me. And the whole team signed the ball for me. And so even though it was high school, but it was still a point that these people thought enough of me to ask me to come down there and to do it. And so I took great pride in that as well.
That's awesome.
I actually, not to cut you off there, I actually did see the video where, the baseball team sang happy birthday to you.
Yes, yes.
Which was, it was very nice. It's just like the little things like that, you're invited,
Mm-hmm.
you meet, different people from all walks of life that, you establish these relationships, which is, pretty unique. And, it's awesome. It's
Yes.
just like being in this business, you meet a lot of people along the way, like yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Famous,
Yeah, it was a tremendous pleasure for me. It was a great joy, and I enjoyed every second. I mean, it was raining a little bit, and they kept saying, "Oh, you don't have to stay," but I stayed out there for about 3 or 4 innings and just enjoyed the guys and help support them.
For everybody tuning into the show right now, if anybody has any questions for Mr. Al Norfleet, please feel free to ask.
Yeah, absolutely. We actually have 3 viewers currently on our viewership, so we got a few people jumping in. I know we'll probably get some people post show jumping in as well and watching this post show. But Al, kind of going off what Fuji has said. I mean, like, to be able to be a part of a community that is, Philly is that Philly area really, because even include New Jersey. I mean, it is such a rich community, and it's they embrace one another. They embrace their sports, and that's really what is a huge connection about the city of Philadelphia. And what is that like to be able to kind of be a little bit of a contribution, if you will, to the city? Be able to add yourself and give back a little bit to the city, if you will. I mean, what's that feeling like? I mean, that's got to be pretty cool to be able to be intertwined with the city as much as you are.
It's very amazing. I mean, even down to like when we go to the hotels, because I always, when the home team is playing, they don't have a need for me because they're home. They drive their cars. But I also do all of the visiting team and have been doing that for 20 some years.
Wow.
And so all of the hotels in Philadelphia that these teams go to, everybody knows me there.
That's awesome.
Down to the autograph guys out front.
You get anybody asking for autographs from you at all, Al?
Oh yeah, that has happened quite a bit over the years. Quite a bit,
I love it.
And a lot of these guys, these autograph guys, started in their teens, and now they're in their mid-20s. So I've been knowing these guys all these years, and I've gotten so many text messages this week saying, "I can't believe you're not going to be here anymore, Big Al."
That's awesome.
Do you sometimes get friends or family that ask you if you could possibly get an autograph?
Well, that happens quite a bit, but I always tell them no, simply because, again, these players and these teams trust in me. Mm-hmm. And that's the one thing that they don't like, is for a driver to be asking players for autograph. Now, I can get them, let's say, a lot of times we take the Eagles or the Six, Phillies, New York, Washington, and we there with them the whole weekend. Now, with football especially, we eat upstairs with the guys. A lot of time you sit down, you talking to guys, "Yo, man, you mind signing this for me?" Not a problem. I'm not out in public. I'm not out where everybody can see that I'm doing it. Mm-hmm. And I don't do it that often. So times like that, yes, I can. But even with family, no, I can't do that because it's against the policy of the teams and my job as well.
Yeah, let me ask you, Al, real quick, to kind of build off that. I mean, I think for people who work or who are looking to work in sports, those are kind of, the rules, right? Those are kind of like sacred rules that you kind of don't want to break if you want to try to work in this industry and it's with teams. I mean, can you kind of, to the listeners out there there might be people listening to us that, may want to work in sports one day or may want to work for a sports team or a pro team, can you kind of go through like what are kind of some key, pieces of advice in terms of, how you need to present yourself when working for these big teams? Because there are rules and there are ways things you got to follow.
Well, it's really plain and simple. Be professional. And a professional person doesn't go around asking for autograph or let me take a picture with you, man, or get all Google-eyed because they see this big superstar. You do your job. Once you get to where you need to go and they're out of your sight, oh man, I met so-and-so today. That's fine. But to be professional, do what a team is asking you to do. It's just that plain and simple.
Right. As far as going back to you singing the national anthem, besides Lincoln Financial Field, Vet Stadium, and Citizens Bank Park, have you sang anywhere else, nationwide?
Well, no, not nationwide. Like I said, simply because when I came to this area in 1985, that's when I first, that was my first time really singing for a professional sport. But over in Europe, like I said before, I sang all over Europe because our team traveled and to different military bases. But when it comes to here in the United States, it's just basically been the Philadelphia arenas and sports venues.
Okay. Dylan?
Al, kind of looking towards like this half of your career and being able to experience, stuff with like the Phillies and, other different events and stuff here in these last couple of years. I mean, what do you think about, the state of Philly sports right now? It's an exciting time to be in Philly, right? There's you got the Phillies who are still playing strong. You got the Eagles who, come off a few playoff bursts. I mean, it's still a very exciting time to be a Philly fan right now, and there's a lot of good stuff happening, even with some changes here or there. I mean, there's a lot of good stuff happening. What do you think about the current state of Philly sports and kind of what's going on right now in the city?
Well, like you said, I think it's very exciting. And for someone that's been around this thing as long as I have, I've seen some downs. I've seen a lot of ups. Like today, I was just going over here, and I've dealt within either direct or indirectly 4 straight NFC championship games. And we was up high then we hit a little low period. And it's really just like anything else in life. Nothing stays the same. Everything changes. Sometimes when it changes is for the better, and sometimes it doesn't work out that way. But right now, like I said, with the Phillies, I think they have the best record in baseball right now. They playing very well. The 76ers, they're getting better. Last year, the Flyers played a lot better than what they have played in several years. So we'll see what that comes when it comes around again. And the Eagles right now, on paper, they're very good. They're very good. But the thing about it, you can't play the game on paper.
Very true.
No, that's true.
We have to see if everything pans out. And with 2 new coordinators and the new guys coming in to see how that gels together. And, hopefully that can be another exciting event for us this year.
Absolutely. You talked about the player fan interaction a little bit, kind of touching back on it, and how players and autographs and, it's for fans. I mean, it's exciting when they get to meet their favorite player, right? And a lot of players do enjoy getting to interact with the fans. I mean, that's the whole point. A lot of times that's the reason why they're in the business that they are, is because the fans sometimes could be the reason that they got to where they're at in sports. So, being a bus driver and seeing, players, is there a player that was like really always kind of, really humble with fans and was always kind of that guy who really was a community guy, kind of one of those guys who really gives back to the local fan base? Because that's always cool to see when players are giving back to the community and really appreciating their support.
Right. Well, I mean, there are a few that is like that. But for the most part, a lot of the players don't really interact like that. And I give you the reason. In Philadelphia, all of these autograph guys are a player that's been on a team or been in the league for a while, because you don't have to be on the same team, but you still going to come to the city.
Yeah.
And these players had good memories. And if they see a guy out there asking them, let's say for baseball, for instance, you got a 3-game series.
Right.
And every day they come out of the hotel, they see the same guy asking for their autograph. And they say, well, look, I signed for you yesterday. I know you do. I wasn't here. And so a lot of those players guard against that because they know what's going on. And some of them will see, and I have seen this 3 or 4 years ago, guys would bring the children out there to get autograph. And so there are a few players that will stop, interact with the guys and talk to the guys. But like I said, Philly is a I don't know how to describe it, but like you said, it's a place that people speak their minds. They say what they want to say, and you don't sign their autograph, you might have some choice words coming at you.
No.
Yeah.
Well, we wear our emotions on our sleeve. You know,
Yes.
Definitely probably the toughest sports town besides Boston, New York, maybe Chicago. And, we love our teams. We're knowledgeable to the fullest, whether it's Jalen Hurts, A.J. Brown, Bryce Harper, and Joel Embiid. You don't perform your standards, no matter what, you're going to hear all the boo birds. That's just how Philly is. That's how we're born and bred here.
Yes, indeed.
And, we'll tell it like it is. You got 2 radio stations in this town. Plus, and I'll take my hat off to different podcasts, which seems to be going, you got hometown guys like myself, you, Dylan, who's down in Tampa. Like, I think sports podcasting is the future. You got guys, from different all walks of life and around the country. But if you're in your own backyard, we tell it like it is. We're not going to sugarcoat nothing.
Absolutely.
And that's just how we are. I mean, we get the bad rep, but we are the most passionate, and we are, we'll support our teams through thick and thin. I mean, right now the Phillies just on fire. Like,
yes.
World Series loss in 22, lost to the Diamondbacks in the National NLCS. These guys have a chip on their shoulder. Harper, boom. I mean, these guys are hitting 1-9. The pitching's lights out. I mean, you get in the Eagles, like you said, Al, they're great on paper, but here's the question. The Eagles schedule's out, free agency, OTAs, mini camp, you got training camp about 2 months away. Who's going to win? Who's going to bring the next title to Philadelphia, the Eagles or the Phillies?
That's a tough one because, like I said, right now, the Phillies are playing well.
Right.
The best record in the majors. It's a long season. Things happen, injuries happen. Players can go into slumps, and sometimes it takes a while to come out. But they are playing well, and I would say the Phillies right now, because of what they are doing right now. Now, once the Eagles start to playing and we see how everything is gelling together with the 2 different coordinators and how the young guys are gelling with the veterans, then you can have a better idea of what they could possibly do during the course of a season. But I would definitely say right now, if I would have to make a choice, I would say the Philadelphia Phillies.
Very true. I mean, it's, we're approaching Memorial Day weekend, then another week, and, barring injury, knock on wood, this Phillies team's just, if they could just keep it rolling, you win 2 out of 3, 3 out of 4 each series.
Yeah.
As your show is, you're in the driver's seat.
Yes, indeed.
And, it's just, when I did message you about what was your take of the Eagles season last year? I mean, the meltdown after 10-1. I mean, just like interacting with the players, maybe not behind the scenes, but What do you think was the cause of the meltdown of the 2023 Philadelphia Eagles?
Well, I don't necessarily say a meltdown. And I say this because if you look at how the whole season went, they were winning games by the skin of their teeth.
Right.
They maybe had two, maybe three dominant performance. Everything else, it could have went either way. You know, as the old saying, the way the ball bounced. And the ball bounced their way for so long. And then those last 6, 7, even 8 games, after they went through that gauntlet, you know, the ball stopped bouncing their way. Now, there were some players like the defensive back that, you know, didn't play their best ball. But at the same time, it's an 11-man team. You know, it's a team game. So a lot of things went wrong for a lot of different reasons. And one of the things that I think, and this is just my opinion, that something inside that locker room was not gelling perfectly. Because even having the type of games that they have, let's say from 1 through 10 or 1 through 11, something had to happen for that last 6, 7 games to go the way that it went. So whatever it was, I think it was something inside the locker room, along with the ball not bouncing their way like it did in their first 10 wins.
Right.
You know, as far as the players, like I said before, they come out of a game, put their headphones on. You can't tell whether they win or lost. You know, on the bus, that is, anyway. Locker room, like I said, I'm not privileged to, but getting on that bus, these things here come on, they sit, decompress, and so it's hard to tell what their minds was going through.
Just going back into their own world, you know, like you said, they leave everything on the field, and you know.
Now, let me say this. In one of my podcasts, I had Dave Spadaro on my show.
Okay.
And that same question came up. I was telling him that people was asking me about, you know, you've been around the players a lot, so how are they in losses and win? And I told them the same thing. You know, when they get on the bus, they put their earphones on, they decompress. And Dave said the same thing, but he said, let me tell you, Al, the Super Bowl is a different animal. We seen not just the player, but everybody in the organization, how down they were, how disappointed they were. So, like I said, within the confines of those walls, I'm sure they let it out, you know, because they're only human, you know.
Well, the thing of it is, I mean, it's, you know, to me, it really wasn't. To me, it just doesn't look like anything really. There wasn't really a legit explanation.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the only thing was Nick Sirianni was, to me, I think he's going into this coming season. I think he's on a short leash. I think he's got one foot out the door, and I hope I'm wrong, because if this team stumbles out of the gate, I think Jeff and Howie are just going to pull the plug and either insert Vic Fangio or Kellen Moore as your next interim coach. And I could see it kind of being Kellen Moore, because they interviewed him during the Nick Sirianni process back in, like, after Doug Peterson was fired. So I think, you know, I just think there's a lot, and I hope I'm wrong, because I hope this team has to come out clicking on all cylinders.
Yeah. Well, you know, that's a very good possibility, and especially when you consider the coaches, Vic and Kevin. They've been there, they've done that, they have experience. And I heard something the other day about Vic was saying he wants them to practice harder. And that could be a major turnaround too, because as you heard last year, a lot of the reports was that they didn't work that hard in practice. And it wasn't that the players, but the system, didn't require them to work that hard, be very physical.
Well, going back to last year, Javon Hargrave, who's with the 49ers now, that left the Eagles to go out to San Fran last season, basically that's what he said.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't. I guess Sirianni, not running a tight ship is, everything's more laid back, not like San Francisco, which, how many times they've been to 2 Super Bowls and multiple NFC title games. They just can't reel it in. And, how do you expect to have great hardcore practices when, everything's supposed to be like, I don't want to say Club Med, but, you could have a great practice multiple days, but not just show up in a game for whatever reason. I mean, that was the rumor he came out and stated between playing San Fran now as opposed to playing in Philly from like 2020 to 2023.
Right. Well, we go back to the Andy Reid area, and I know football has changed. Everything has changed,
Right.
But Andy was like doing training camp. They was in pass 2 days, and I know most teams don't do that nowadays. And in a sense, I don't take that as a hard excuse because every other team is basically doing the same thing. But the intensity that you work with in practice always show up on game day. So if you have less intensity during the week, I guess it's Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, then that Sunday, that same thing going to show up. So a lot of contributing factors.
Well, right. I mean, the game has changed. I mean, I forget the rule they just came out with that, you can't hit a certain player. I don't know if it's tackling them around the hip area.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you look at the CTE factor over the last 20 plus years, concussions, I remember training camp, I used to go up Lehigh, used to have the 2-a-days, and
yeah,
I mean, you don't even have these guys hitting in pads like you used to. And, it's not like when Dawkins or Ed Reed or Troy Polamalu, be laying guys out left and right. But
I don't think they can play in this age.
No, not at all.
They couldn't play in that age. This age.
No. I mean, you can't. I mean, you graze the quarterback, you get 10, 15 yards. Like, you can't even do that. It's a joke. But, just player safety first, as they say, for different players. Dylan?
Al, I'm from Tampa, and obviously Clearwater's down here for spring training for the Phillies. Have you ever been down to Clearwater for spring training?
I've
Philly
been
spring?
down Clearwater, but not for spring training because most of the time I, have stuff going on here. But it's a beautiful area, and I know that they have the Phillies have a big following down there, just as they do here in Philadelphia. As a matter of fact, the guy that I was with yesterday, the one I said that used to be their traveling secretary, he has a summer home down there, and he invited me down there this year when they go down here.
That's awesome. What do you think about the ballpark down there, Baycare Ballpark? Did you get a chance to check it out while you were down there? It's a pretty neat ballpark.
When I was down there, I used to go to Florida every spring break with Temple University crew team.
Okay.
And we'd be down in DeLand, Florida for 8 or 9 days where they practicing on the water, and and then the 10th day we go down to Tampa and they have their boat race down there.
Okay.
And so, but that was the only time I was down there.
Gotcha. We got to get you back down here, Al. I'll take you around town and we'll check out. We'll go to a Philly spring training game.
I actually had the privilege, honor to get down there this year for the first time.
Mm-hmm.
Dylan and I met last year at the Eagles Bucks game.
Okay.
And then we met up, after one of the Phillies games down in Clearwater on St. Patrick's Day. So.
Mm-hmm.
very nice ballpark. Very, as far as being a game day employee, very nice staff down there as well. So
Right.
was lucky to sit, third baseline, 100 level. Great seats. For anybody who hasn't been down there, get down there because, great site.
Yeah, now that I'm fully retired, maybe I can get down there this season.
Hey, maybe we'll hook it up next spring training.
Absolutely.
Florida's a retiree hotspot, so we'll welcome you with open arms there.
Hey, Dylan, very nice young man. I mean, he's like an adopted son, I could call him.
Yeah.
Because, not only with this show, we talked about doing this a couple months ago, and he's heading for a great career, this young man.
Right.
I'm not just saying it, like, he's in all avenues. He does a little race car stuff. He has his own baseball podcast. He's starting this new gig. Good luck to you, Dylan. I mean, if you could talk about it, he's with the Blue Jays, and we used to be on a show together, Broad Street South, which is Angel and everybody over there doing great. The TBL, the basketball league, which Dylan also participates in, and it's just a lot of great things going on for Dylan, and very proud he's helping me out. Like, I'll say this, like I said off camera before we came on, I get nervous. Like, I'm used to being a co-host, and I'm still. He's just like, guiding me through the right, with all the bells and whistles, just picking up. Because I don't know if I could carry my own show. I mean, it's just like, I don't want to call myself the full host. I mean, he's a host as well, and I do appreciate him guiding me through this and
absolutely
helping me out, and we do appreciate having you on tonight.
I'm gonna have to stay in touch with him so he can help me out too down the road.
Al, I'd be more than happy to help you out. Absolutely.
Right.
I mean, this young man is going places. I mean, you got
sorry.
Go ahead.
Al, I wanted to ask you, kind of before we, wrap up here in a little bit, but I wanted to ask you this. Again, we've talked a lot about your career and about what you've done in your career. I think, the big thing is, a lot of guys, want to kind of leave that lasting, legacy. I guess for you, Al, like what do you want people to remember you about, about yourself working all these years now that you're retired and onto this kind of new phase in life? I mean, what do you want people to kind of remember you about your work and what you did, and I know you're still doing stuff in the Philly community. But,
yeah.
So.
Basically, that I gave all that I could give, and I did it with a smile. I did it with joy. I did it with love, and that's basically it. Because I really did enjoy working with all these teams all these years, not just the home team, but the visiting team, and anybody that knows me, and not just the team, but anybody that Philadelphia Phillies Stadium or the link. If you say the name Al Norfleet, there's not a person in it that don't know me, and so I'm good with that. Just knowing that I gave everything I could, and I was very professional.
Got to call you the mayor of Philly, Al.
Some have done that already.
Some people do. Listen, when you're known around those parts, or when you're known around parts of a city, they'll start dubbing you the mayor. So,
Oh yeah.
Do you want to throw your hat into the political ring?
No, thank you.
It might be a bad answer, Al. Might be a bad
yeah.
Right.
I always say, listen, I mean, kind of, touching on that. I don't want to get into politics at all, really, but I mean, like, for me, I always like just seeing peace on earth.
Yeah,
just being able to have happiness, and that's what I think is great about sports, Al. And you experience that. I think sports really do bring people together, no matter what race, no matter what background, no matter your political views, your views in the world are. I mean, sports really do bring people together. It brings people from all over the world together, and I think that's what makes really sports in general just such a great thing. Great platform.
The
Big
prime
time.
example in that is 9/11.
I agree.
After that, and then once they started back playing, there was so much togetherness through sports,
Right.
and so that's a prime example.
Even COVID recently, even COVID as well.
Absolutely.
I mean, people die. That sports for us were our escape from all the stuff that was going on, and we had nothing really other to watch other than sports. So it really brought people together.
Well, I mean, hey, I've been season ticket holder for the Eagles 30 plus years. It's like every Sunday. It's nothing like Sunday football, at least in Philly with our brand.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, it made the whole Delaware Valley shuts down for 3 hours.
Yeah.
While tailgating plus, you know how it is. You're down there every week. God bless you.
And then you got people like Sean Young. You know him, right?
Oh yeah, know Sean very well.
You got people like him that keeps it going, keeps the energy out there, and keeps the Philadelphia spirit there.
Right. I mean, there's actually, I don't know if you know Tony Penikel, gentleman that dresses up at the Phillies games wearing the Apollo Creed outfit. We had him on, I think, episode.
I've probably seen him. Yeah.
He's known down there too. Big Phillies fan, actually an amateur boxer. Also, the Philly sports guy, Jamie Paye. You see him everywhere. Eagles dressing up, Phillies, Sixers, Flyers, Philadelphia Union. So, you got these guys like, as you say with Sean, just, these gentlemen painting themselves up and, all three just doing a great job, representing Philly to the fullest.
Yeah, absolutely.
Sports passion.
Al, let me ask.
I think Sean is even. Sorry about that. Sean is even. They have a thing in the Hall of Fame where guys like him are in the Hall of Fame.
Right, he got inducted in the NFL Hall of Fame as a super fan. Matter of fact, when I went to Florida back St. Patrick's Day, I ran into Sean. He works at Lids in the airport. So, matter of fact, I want to try to get him on here.
Yeah, I had him on my show last year, and it was a great show. Great show.
Well, plus he was doing the. Matter of fact, I don't know if you saw the Eagles did some skit with the schedule, and they had Sean and Philly sports guy on.
Actually, I haven't seen that one yet.
I have to send it to you, but it was pretty funny.
Okay.
But Sean's a great guy, and we'll have to try to get him on, Dylan.
Absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely.
Matter of fact, he did the Monday night commercial.
Oh yeah, he's been on TV a lot during the season.
Big time.
Al, did you ever get a chance to drive the Philadelphia Wings, one of the newer teams that's joined the Philadelphia sports community? I know
I didn't, and like I said, I'm normally just with the four major teams.
Okay.
I remember when the union first started, our company handled them for a little bit, but I was considered to be with all the big leagues teams, so I didn't really do anything with the union either. And matter of fact, my company is also down in Tampa too.
Really?
Yeah, Academy Bus.
Okay, yes, we actually Dunedin. We have I believe a sponsorship with Academy.
Okay.
So that's kind of awesome. That's really cool.
Oh yeah,
that's awesome. Well, Al, we appreciate you coming on. We really do, and did enjoy having you on. Fuji, have anything kind of final to say before we kind of wrap things up here?
I'd like to, have you back on. And, before I let you go, I know I don't know if you had a chance to look at the schedule. It's always hard to decipher the schedule, but if you were to make a prediction right now, what do you predict the Philadelphia Eagles? Or can you make that prediction now?
Yeah, I like I say, on paper, that prediction is 13-4. Once they get out there. But I think the last 4, 5, or maybe 6 games, they don't have to get on an airplane at all.
Right.
And so I think that's going to play in their favor too. Because I mean, even though some flights are 2 hours, some maybe 5 hours, depending on where they're going, but up and down that plane, and it takes a lot out of you too. So if you can have a 4 or 5 game schedule that you don't have to be on an airplane, I think that is in their favor.
Well,
So-
I know they're in Baltimore. I know they finished here against the Giants. I think Washington somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
Dallas is like right after, I think the 29th, right between December 29th.
Right.
Christmas, New Year's. So it'll be an interesting, training.
Absolutely. I'm just hoping everything is gel together.
Yeah, we got a comment coming in saying 11-6 for the Eagles, locking in now.
Yeah.
So.
Okay.
Nice.
Not bad, not bad.
Well, we definitely love to have you back. We do appreciate your time. I know we're going to do this tomorrow night. Dylan's starting a new gig, as we were talking about.
Right.
So we do appreciate having
Absolutely.
you on this
Thank
evening.
you,
and just wanted to thank everybody tuning in. Dylan and I and Al here on Fuji's Phil. Check out the replay. Great show tonight. Great conversation. Mr. Norfleet, like to wish you a happy belated birthday.
Thank you.
Thank you for your service. Like to wish everybody a happy Memorial Day. Thank you to all the military out there who never get enough credit for all the thanks in the world. Another thing is today, I believe it's mental health illness month. So, everybody's going through some stuff, and, call a friend you haven't talked to in a while, a relative. You never know when somebody may need somebody. I'm kind of going through it myself. My mom passed away 6 months ago, but God bless her. But again, we'd like to thank everybody. Dylan, I don't know if you have anything to say.
Yeah, just I was gonna say, Al, we if I'm ever up in Philly, we'll get me and Fuge and you together. We'll all go to a Phillies game, and you got to be our driver. You got to drive us. You got to drive to the game. You're the legendary driver, so we got to get you driving. But Al, no, in all seriousness, thank you so much. Really appreciate it.
Yes, sir. My pleasure.
Again, thank you for your service, and really happy to have you on.
Again, Mr. Norfleet, thank you. It was a pleasure. Appreciate it. And everybody, tune in next week. Everybody have a good Memorial Day and have a good week. God bless.
Thank you, guys.